Good evening, morning. Welcome to the Graze. I've got Dio on from YieldNest. Thank you for joining us today and getting on early and getting this call. We slapped it together in what 2 days. Just decided we needed to finally get together and have a recording. Excited to have you on. Finally get you pinned down on. I waited until you started your second your V2 uh, Pioneer program right before I finally got you on the call on the show.
hmm Yeah,
So
it's been a while, and super happy to be back. It's been a wild ride. It's been super fascinating, and yeah, we're in this really interesting time in the market, really interesting time in crypto and DeFi and everything in general. It feels very surreal, right? Like suddenly, we have the president of the United States talking about DeFi and crypto, and all these things are happening, but it's still a bit quiet in the markets in the sense of like price action went up on the Bitcoin side, but the real DeFi is not really ripping yet. So very, very interesting in between stage right now, I would say.
yeah, it definitely feels like there's just like trepidation, like there just nervousness in the market. I don't think it's boredom, but it's like it feels like they're just like now here we are with a pro crypto administration in the states, and they don't the market doesn't seem like this is like the bull run all of a sudden. Like it feels like now we need more clarification. Like we've been waiting for clarification for 8 years, right?
That is correct. But I also think that there was actually an article yesterday from Michael Agroff that came out. I really kind of agree with his stance, right? Like we're going to see like this is kind of the end game, right? Like I always say to people, like when people always say, oh, regulations, or we need this or we need that. Well, our industry is built to not care, right? So like that's why we did this. That's why I joined crypto when I
Yeah,
was
that's we all
uh,
joined crypto. That was the whole point, right?
yeah. The whole point was we don't have to care. And now suddenly we care about all these like institutions and capital and stuff moving in. It's making our industry very well, some people say it's DeFi is maturing, right? Some people say the shenanigans of centralized finance are pouring into crypto, and we have to watch out, right? And I think it's probably somewhere in between. Yeah.
Well, that was a nice intro of us worrying about our the future of our industry. So I should have started within letting you have some time to talk about YieldNest first. And
Yes.
um, I'm gonna jot down a couple questions in chat while you're talking about where you guys are now, when and how your initial launch started, and where you are with the Pioneer program today.
Love it. Yes, thank you. Let's get into it. Yeah. Uh, like I'm there for a core contributor from YieldNest protocol, and YieldNest is a liquid restaking protocol, right? And most people, when they think about restaking, they think about eigenlayer or symbiotic. No, like YieldNest is that, but much more. One YieldNest got started around like 2 years ago, 1.5 year ago, as kind of like my own kind of experimental project. Two, where we got started with the interview with that ethos, that philosophy of getting more people into crypto, getting like more blue chip DeFi, focusing on pure decentralized like financial structures where we are able to use, curve is fully, permissionless, the curve pools, right? And what I like about that design is like some parts are completely permissionless, some parts have obviously multi-sigs and upgrades, right? But all those things that we probably know very well are very complex for most people in DeFi. So YieldNest actually got started as more of a DeFi structured product suite, right? Then restaking came around, and restaking made it possible theoretically for me to structure and to layer different like opportunities of yield in an efficient way and transparent way and secure way on top of each other and package them in tokens, right? That's all that all LRTs are. LRTs are derivatives, right? And yeah, the platforms, like I call them now shared security platforms, have been building and they have been released. That's fantastic. Unfortunately, they're focusing more on the network security side and the whole economic security side, and that product layering, what I was so excited about, has not really been delivered, that tech stack. And I have, if you go to our docs, you can actually see an opinion piece from Llama Risk and YieldNest, where we pull that kind of thinking apart, and we're saying, well, actually, restaking is just about capital efficiency. So YieldNest came full circle while starting as a DeFi structured product suite, then going more into restaking, because theoretically that sounded really easier to build the stack. And now seeing what has been delivered and actually coming to the conclusion that, well, that stack is great, but not really for that use case that I initially wanted to build upon. We still use restaking in the sense of shared security, just as a DeFi layer, and we're now releasing max LRTs, which are basically yeah, this is gonna sound a little bit crazy, but like they are kind of self-evolving yield products, right? Where they will kind of automatically grow and expand and integrate and enshrine certain protocols in itself. So we go full circle from being a DeFi structured product suite as like a start, going more into like, oh, let's explore EigenLayer and native restaking, which is I'm not going to fully get into, but like all those complexities there. Now going back again to like a full kind of like structured product suite. And that's what YieldNest is now, and that's what we now have delivered. And yeah, I would highly recommend everyone to read our general protocol assessment, also together with Llama Risk. And you can see in our docs, I just actually updated yesterday night, the MXLRT the apex of yield optimization, where you could just see it as simple as just you have this 14626 volt, which we all know what that is, right? But we kind of adapted it. So it's a vault that holds multiple assets, not just one asset. And it can enshrine like different DeFi strategies in itself. And it can account all that back to its like main top level vault. And we then use our AI agents, which are obviously still in development. The AI agents, we wanted to release that in Q2, but we already released it because the developments around the agents go very, very fast. And these agents just feed us data, and we'll continuously look for LLT strategies. And if we like the strategies, we enshrine them into the max LLTs, making them these kind of very stable, risk-adjusted yield-generating DeFi assets, right? So that's a really TLDR short update of where we are in terms of tech. Yeah, I said a lot. Maybe some
Yeah,
questions
I'll
or
let you have a breather for a second. So last
yeah,
time that we talked, you were it was several months ago when you launched the initial Pioneer program, and you whitelisted the llamas, and you were getting us to take part in your bootstrapping initial phase, correct?
correct.
And so we were able to do that by staking a certain amount of ETH or whatever. But I think it was ETH at the time. It was just only ETH was the only option. And then I saw that on your socials that you announced that you guys had started phase two, and that you were also branching out onto Binance chain or Binance Smart Chain, and also we're allowing restaking of Bitcoin. Not restaking, I guess just staking. So that's kind of that's a big leap, right? To go all of a sudden you just like went cross chain, it's a really big. Why did you decide to do those other two currencies as an other pioneer starting a currency?
Great question, right? So yeah, indeed, Pioneer program, and thank you everyone for participating. We had the special action for the llamas. Instead of 5 ETH, you could stake 2.5 ETH if you hold a llama NFT, including I hold one myself, as you can see. And the people that do that get the Pioneer NFT. And at the time, was just our native YNETH product. We went all in on native restaking, and that product was quite a heavy engineering lift because it's not just an eigenlayer integration is actually spinning up nodes, proving the nodes, etc., etc., etc. And that product is done, and the product is very stable right now, and it's kind of just becoming an underlying strategy of one of the max LRTs. And while we were exploring like different opportunities, like we came in contact with Kernel from Galdo, and they were expanding to the BNB chain. And it's for me like I find like I'm a big research like I'm a big I always dive deep into the research side of like DeFi in the sense of like how do we get price discovery on chain. And my opinion is that if we're on BNB chain, we could potentially see a solution against the toxic order flow or the impermanent loss, like by directly hooking into the Binance like WebSockets on the pricing data. So that was kind of like my idea around that, and that kind of quickly evolved into like, okay, let's just launch an LRT on BNB chain. Also because we got selected for the MVB8 program, so Binance Labs. This is actually soon going to be announced in the like strategic round, where Binance Labs kind of took an option, and we kind of got close to them, and we're, as we discussed in the beginning of the stream, DeFi was this self-sovereign layer, and I'm still an ETH bull, obviously, but on the BNB side, yeah, that's where a lot of power, money, and influence lies. So we were just like, okay, let's explore that ecosystem, and we did a deep dive into the BNB chain, and it's quite interesting, right? Like from an EVM perspective and chain perspective, like why did BNB chain actually not become the Solana? Well, there's a lot of politics on the BNB chain side, but it's more like we saw an opportunity of an expansion that was relatively quickly and easily for us to do. So we started just to explore the BNB chain as well. And we also used the BNB chain as kind of like a testing ground for our max LRT product. So we release it first there. Gas costs are a little bit lower. It's a little bit easier to test and then to expand to L1. So that was purely that philosophy. Generally, the products that we build are completely chain agnostic, but settlement assurance is very important, right? So these, for example, the max LRT YNETH Max settles on ETH layer 1, and the BNB product settles on BNB chain layer 1. The BTC product that we released, and you can see that also in the docs, like it's actually just the kernel BTC K integration like basket, because there's a lot of demand for BTC on BNB chain. And we got a lot of interest from people that asked us, okay, you launched that. So we just kind of listened to the market.
So
And then
is that
recently we launched.
a wrapped Bitcoin on BNB?
No, it's BTC-B and Solve BTC that is then injected into kernel. So it's actually quite a relatively simple product. The actual bigger vision behind that is that if you see also in the docs, right, you can see the as you said, we started with YNETH, just the like eigenlayer restake integration, for now transition to the max LRTs, going to YNETH Max, which is this kind of self-evolving vault that will integrate different ETH strategies and then sync that back to ETH layer 1. We actually want to do that as well for our BTC product, where we sync that YN BTCX, BTC Max product back to BTC layer 1. And that's something we're still exploring. But as a first deployment, we just deployed the YN BTCK version, which just takes like BTC derivatives, wraps it into a liquid vault, so you have a liquid position, and then injects that into kernel. So it's a relatively simple product. It's actually the most simple product we have out there right now. And it's just mostly just to get the interest and to keep like researching and exploring how that works. Yeah, obviously I like BTC a lot, but I do have some criticisms on these BTC layer twos and stuff. Like,
Right.
and yeah,
Yeah, like I
as
just every
people
time
may
I
know.
think about any kind of DeFi related Bitcoin stuff, I automatically think about stacks and think that it's this supposed layer two that never seems to connect, right? Like it doesn't even roll up. It's just a side chain.
Yeah, and that's all of what they are right now. And it's a little bit that, and I mean, I like to always talk openly on these things, right? And it's quite hard, right, for a project because you see some other protocols, and we're now doing it as well, but it's isolated, right? So the YNBTCK product is fully isolated, obviously, from the other products. But Solve BTC, for example, like, I know this is I hope this doesn't go super but it's like it's like Solve BTC. I do have like concerns about it, right? But in our products, we have like mechanisms that if one of the underlying assets in the basket depegs, we are actually shorting it, right? So yeah, I don't know if you guys knew that, but I was like 3 months before the Luna collapse, when I was still working with Llama Risk, together with Fiddy, we wrote an article about the Luna setup, and we did a whole technical deep dive in Luna and the whole UST thing, and we came to the conclusion that it's very dangerous and that we should watch out actually incentivizing it from a curve perspective. And then like nothing really happened for 3 months, and then three
Right.
months later it fully collapsed. Yeah.
I remember you guys kind of being laughed at for that article, and it was peak Luna mania, and nobody wanted to hear anything bearish at all. Like, look at these schmucks. The llama risk. These llama risk guys don't even want. Like, we're over here making like 76% yield on the just on the three pool that with the Hedera in it, whatever it was called, and it was like it couldn't even. It was unfathomable that you could have a blow up of that size, and now it feels like that's just the automatic assumption. Like uh, we learned a lot from that. You guys were three
I
months
don't
ahead.
think we learned a lot. Like, I mean, we learned a lot, maybe personally, right? I learned a lot. I think you learned a lot. We all learned a lot experiencing that. But you see now very clearly with indeed the stacks, or I forgot that other bridge, not Tornado Cash, but the other bridge that blew up recently that was, bridging Bitcoin,
Yeah.
and um, and I see everything building up again, right? Like, and it's like we didn't really learn because and it's hard to call it out because I don't like, it's always very hard to be negative, right? I don't want to be negative. I really want to be positive
Yeah.
because, and there's also so much positive things to talk about, by the way. But just
Yes.
on the BTC side, yeah, watch out. But if you want to get exposure to those high yields, and that's also why we designed our structured products. We are agnostic. We're just taking the yields and we're making sure that the principal is protected as much as possible on any of these products. But like, yeah, I'm quite worried, even to an extent that, yeah, I'm actually quite worried about some of these layer twos, right? They're so big, there are billions, and it's much bigger size than Luna, right? Oh no, Luna was actually bigger, right? But it's getting to that size. But I think the music could go on for a while, and then at some point, some of these layer twos will start to collapse because they're just multi-sigs. Actually, to be fair, it's not as bad as Luna because Luna was this kind of really crazy mechanism where at least in these layer twos it's just multi-sig risk, right?
Right.
But yeah.
Yeah. The Luna risk was even worse with the burn mint mechanism.
Yeah. But
Unlimited
that being
unlimited
said,
Terra.
like, that being
Uh,
said, it is really cool to see innovation. I really like it, and I think no matter what happens, even if it blows up or if it doesn't blow up, it's even better. But if it blows up, also good because then it will just generally educate a new group of people, right? So yeah.
it's hard to be negative on anybody who's building because we both, all of us, pretty much all the llamas know how hard it is to build anything,
Oh yeah.
especially in a bear market. So it's hard to look at another project and be like, yeah, these guys are vapor, right? Like you want to give
Mm.
everybody, pat everybody on the back and say, at least you guys are trying and going out and building and coming up with a new idea. So I had a question that I started out with. I wanted to talk about wasted capital, and you talk about capital efficiency. Is there a statistic that of how much ETH that is staked ETH that is currently liquidly staked and being used? Is it a small percentage still?
Hmm. That's a great question. I don't have those numbers by heart, right? But I think, I mean, the overall staking percentage, like 20, 30%, I think, right? Uh, Probably more 30, 40% now. Yeah, a lot of people want to get maximum capital efficiency. I think it's a inevitable evolution, right? Like anybody that has money looks at risks, looks at rewards. You can hold the naked ETH, or you can put it in your own validator. That's one step. Or you can put it in somebody else's validator, or you can put it in certain strategies, right? And that all stacks the risks, but that also increases rewards. And um, yeah, I think most of finance eventually will be layered or stacked, right? Like and even with things like resupply from Convex, right? That's coming out from Convex and Yearn, and that's actually a great product and a great example of what you said about how much ETH is being staked and then restaked. But we will see. That's just the start, right? That's why I think that restaking term, by just saying restaking and then thinking about eigenlayer, no. Think about restaking and think about capital efficiency, and think about how much efficiency we still have to gain, right? Because all these positions we have on curve land or frax land or all these things we can also rehypothecate, right? For better or for worse. But that is going to happen, and that's probably going to issue in a whole new vibe in DeFi where it's good and it's bad. Again, we're going down a route of like, ooh, what's gonna go wrong? But
Mm-hmm.
as we said, like let's tap each other on the back. Like we're innovating, we're moving forward, but definitely we're entering that kind of stage quickly now, where it's gonna be all we hypothecated. It's a bit of a bad word, right? But or layered, like how we want
Yeah.
to say it, right? But as long as you understand the risks, as long as you understand the rewards, yeah, that's good.
Everything will be drawn by the capital efficiency eventually. There'll be That's why we're so excited. Our group is so excited about the real world assets coming on chain because it's just dead
Yes.
money, especially property, real estate being the low hanging fruit when it comes to needing tokenization. I mean, think
Mm-hmm.
about the leverage and the amount of capital that's just sitting there that isn't even being borrowed against, isn't being used for anything. And it's exciting to think about bringing the entire whole world of finance on chain and then being able to use that, unlock that capital in a loan
Yes.
situation.
And then let everybody do it peer to peer and give that kind of usability to not only the elites, not only the banks, not only the 1%, right? Because right now it's actually the traditional financial world is super highly leveraged to the tits, right?
Yep.
Much more than in DeFi. But indeed, the brick and mortars and all these things, they're actually leveraged, and it's a bit sad because it's all super leveraged behind the scenes with the books if it ends up in the wrong books.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's just commercially owned, and the project that I know Lamaris of the Lamas are also working on with the real estate, that's fantastic. Michael's mansions are going to be tokenized and things like that. But it's like, I'm joking, but like that that is that is like really cool. That's everybody can then actually do these things instead of only a small group of elites, and yeah, that will be
The
fantastic. Yeah.
Another exciting thing that's happening on Llama Land or in Curve for us was the ability to use LP positions as collateral. Is that going to affect your project, or will that be like a new pool or a new product that you guys would wrap YieldNest around once is live?
100%. That's why we build our architecture, right? Like again, like I call it the apex of yield optimization, because it's a more, we instead of building a very focused product, which we did before, we learned a lot from that, where we were like, okay, let's build native restaking very deep in one specific direction, which actually most people do not understand, like how complex that is, right? The native restaking side. But that's fine. Now we build a more generalized product, which can just stack these different opportunities together in a slow moving manner, right? So it's not something that's integrating a new yield strategy every hour or every couple of days. It's probably going to move in a couple of weeks. But yes, correct. We first will externally integrate these curve pools, and as you said, that you could borrow against your curve pool. Do you then allude to like resupply or something like that, or spectra, or what do you mean with that?
I just said it was mentioned in several Curve tweets recently that was on that's on the radar for happening soon, was being able to use your Curve LP positions inside of Curve Lend
Oh,
and Llama Lend.
yes, yes, 100%. Yeah, that is that. You know why that's so cool? Because like, in order to do that, there's a couple of technical caveats there, but let's just take the BT the ETH USD pool, right? If you can borrow USD against your ETH USD pool, you can make your LP position very ultra hyper capital efficient, because if there's any imbalances in the pool, you can just borrow against it, and you arbitrage the imbalance, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you can increase the yield by 10 to 20%. Yes, I love that. And I think that's exactly why we build our architecture, not specifically for Curveland, but for strategies like that are coming, right? And I think we're going to soon see this kind of singularity moment in DeFi, where this is kind of like the first step, oh, borrow against your people. And these are these first steps. And then I think it's going to explode in terms of expressiveness and uh, option things we can do. Like, for example, you can actually use also a curve pool in spectra, and you can start to speculate on the yield curves, right? I think most people are not really doing that, for example. And there's so much things to explore still that not many people are doing at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very underused and still under the radar. We're still in a DeFi bear market, so nobody really even pays attention to it, except for like
I agree.
the 20 of us. Speaking of somebody who pays attention to you guys, how about your Garrett from Curve Cap when he posted about in his one of his letters? I don't know if you had a chance to read it, and he gave you guys a big shout out in it. It was about 3 or 4 days ago, and he said that he was going to go pop around into different pools, and then he was going to take the risk on going into one of the YieldNest pools. And most of all, because he knew your phone number and you would answer the phone and take his call if there was a problem.
Yeah, I actually didn't read that article yet. Thanks. Like, oh, please link it to me. I missed that one.
It was in
But
his letter.
oh, yeah, let me check it out later. Yeah, I mean, but the question is like, uh, yeah, I mean, yeah, sure.
So
Like, I mean, that's
there's active pools. I haven't even gotten to that point. So like in your deployment, all think about is Pioneer program, bootstrapping, starting up, getting the NFT, getting the points, all the stuff that we talked about for the last year. But you guys have live pools up that are active right now on Curve.
yeah, and we're actually migrating, right? So as I said, the wine ETH, which is this really specific, focused thing, focused on just eigenlayer, native restaking with validators, and like, like, which is really cool, like, because now we can do gas rebates and all those really cool things, but they're very highly technical. We're just going to the max LRT vaults, where, as what we were just talking about, we can give higher yields to users, make it simple, give one token, and even for experienced users like ourselves, that's just what we want, right? Like, if I look at my own time and portfolio, it's a mess right now. I don't have time to manage my own portfolio because I'm now building, right? So I want things simple as well. DeFi is getting so complex, so we just want to simplify it. And then we have curve pools, correct? We have curve pools, we have Spectra integration, we have Euler, we have Curveland. We are like we're gonna get our Morpho Vault soon. Actually, as of this morning, we are bridged to 6 different chains. Like on the background, I still need to activate the Stargate interface. So all these kind of lines are happening. And I think what everybody knows on the Llama here team, it's very hard to manage liquidity. And that's why we also kind of manage these just 4 derivative vaults, make it very simple, just create 4 max LRT vaults so we can focus our liquidity management on these 4 top level vaults and integrations, right? From the outside in, it always looks quite simple, like, oh, the setup a curve pool, that's actually relatively simple, but then integrating it in all these different things, getting enough liquidity, making the server pool stable, doesn't get hacked, like whatever, like that's all requiring a lot of energy. But that is now all rolled out. So like as a Llama, and if you want to explore the YieldNest ecosystem with ETH, I would recommend just to go to YNETH Max, YNETH X. With BNB Max, and then BTC is currently only in BNB chain, but soon we're exploring ways to actually hash it on BTC layer 1. And there's multiple ways to do that, and we're just exploring what's best. And then also our stablecoin product that's going to go live in Q2. Yeah.
Okay, that's a lot of information and a little teaser there on the stable at the end. So obviously, all the questionings that I've been asking you so far leads to the TGE. So the Pioneer program is in order to help farm the TGE airdrop for those members, right? For those people that are taking part. So where are you on the timeline for your TGE?
Yeah, thanks. Well, so we're feeling ready, and there's multiple like reasons we want to probably at the end of March. Like the date I have in mind is around the 21st, but don't shoot the messenger on that, right? But around we're kind of TGE ready now. We have Aragon V2 governance stack that is deployed. We're integrating that right now, and we're porting over our contracts. And we have our whole governance stack ready. We have our airdrop strategy ready. And yeah, now, and this is also why I wanted to do this live stream. I need help. I need everybody's support, and I want people to come in. I want people to come into our Discord or talk to me, and I don't know what is the best way to do that. Maybe if I go to the actual Llamas chat, or maybe in the Curve OG, in the Telegram groups, or anybody that knows me knows my Telegram handle is just @DioBrands, and like we are gearing up for a TGE. We have a strategy, but what we're seeing right now, there's like such an overflow of options and different directions that we can go, that I really want like everybody's input, because the reason why, like, and I think a lot of like we're going through this bear market in DeFi, or maybe even DAOs or things in general, right? Because we're not just distributing an airdrop as some sort of a meme coin or pump it and then dump it. It's a long-term plan to build a decentralized protocol and system, in this case, in the case of YieldNest, that optimizes yields, that integrates with different other like strategies, these curve length strategies, or that integrates with the real estate tokens that are going to be released from the Llamas, right? Or any of these components. I want people that are smart in the community. So ideally, I just want to give my YND tokens to as many smart people as I can, right? And this also ties back into like, yeah, we are TGE ready. We want to align ourselves with smart communities, and we actually now are looking for all of you guys' input, right? So for example, we have a lot of centralized exchanges giving us crazy offers. Even Gate, I always get, which I don't know anybody that's using Gate, but apparently it's a lot now, because they're charging like $500,000 to get a listing. And I'm
Jesus
just like,
Christ.
it's insane, right? And
I,
I'm just like, wait,
they're
this is
always the
Gate we're
first.
talking about.
They're always the first ones to have listings too. Like they are always like within an hour or two of something going live, they have it up. I don't know why. These guys are like movers and shakers, but now the shakedown for the listing thing is just, I can't even imagine that,
Yeah.
how easy it is to scam money out of people that are starting coins from scratch, right?
Yeah, and it's a big problem for us because like what do we do there? Like we have GSR and we have artists as market makers and stuff and like okay, right? Like that is good, but then GSR only wants to work with a couple of these bigger exchanges and these bigger exchanges are saying like okay, yeah, it's I think the reason because there's a lot of new coins starting and
Yeah.
everybody just wants to pay these centralized exchanges and
Yeah, so they
get
put the
listed.
price so high that it's price prohibitive for anything other than actual true teams that have VC backing usually.
I don't know, like we have VC backing, we have money, right? But I don't want to spend it on
You don't
on
want to
that
blow
kind of stuff.
400 grand on Gate.io.
No, fuck no. That sounds ridiculous. Like we're not, yeah, and but it is like one of these questions, and it's hard for founders now, for me to to core contributors to feel like okay, what do we do, right? Like what is the best move here? And I think I kind of because you do want to have one centralized exchange, that you want to have one footing, right? You want to create that volume there, so then others will pick you up and stuff, right? Like you see projects in the old days that were just launching just on DEXs, right? Although I find that very romantic,
Yeah, those
and
days
I
are
like
done.
that. Huh?
Those days are over with. Those are the good old days.
Those are the good old days. But I'm leaning towards it, man. Like seeing again, like it's ridiculous. Like why would I pay so much money for just a database listing, which is all that is in a centralized database on some sort of a centralized exchange, right? That's not DeFi. I would rather pay $400,000 in bribes to a curve pool,
Now we're talking. now
right?
you now you
That
have
is
now
much
you have our
better.
attention.
That's much better. I would rather do something like that, or say like, oh, like we have $200,000 or 200,000, $200,000 in YNE for going to distribute or something like that. That will probably attract real people instead of just attracting some scammers on Gate,
Yeah,
right?
true.
So, and we also have other offers, KuCoin, I mean, Binance Labs, we're talking with them, and it's just this weird flow where going back to all the beginning of this maturing of DeFi, like really, be careful what we wish for, I would say, because if this is to mature, then I don't know, like I then miss the old days, right? Like of us just nerding around and like launching V2 pools or something like
Yeah,
that.
that's true.
But yeah, coming all back, like so these are all different streams, and I would love like my goal also of this broadcast is to request the warriors, request the llamas for input and for support, with like what do we do here, right? Because there's many options. I do also want to give a nice airdrop just to the Llama NFT holders. I want to do an airdrop to other communities that I align with instead of spending all that money on these weird like things like listings and stuff. I would rather spend it in the DeFi community. But how do we do that in the most efficient way, right? And yeah, I do like that. Like I do want to, like I would rather give some of the tokens to the llamas than give tokens to Gate or other weird things, right?
We'd love to help. So, uh, my only thing that I would suggest that I actually do take part in a lot is the stupid Twitter polls. Like if you have a very narrow subject that you only have 5 answers to or something that you're interested in polling a good community on, throw up a Twitter poll and then just send me a message on Telegram to retweet it into the Llamas from the Llamas main event account and get you some good feedback on those. But for more detailed, nuanced information, you're definitely going to want people in Discord, right? So the main
Yeah.
thing that we need to do is get on Discord and talk to you on the YieldNest Discord.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of hard, right? Because one of the polls I would like to do is like, hey, should we do more centralized exchange listings or should we do more airdrops to communities like the Llamas and other more OG DeFi holders, right? Because at the end of the day, I don't really care if people go on centralized exchanges. Like my protocol is completely, like YieldNest is completely built to kind of like make it DeFi a little bit easier. So yes, there's a governance token aspect, but that governance token should just only be held by people like similar in how CRV should be held, right? Okay, CRV has speculation and stuff, obviously, and that's good. And YieldNest YND will have that as well. But ideally, you want people to hold that token and actually have maybe in the curves like a liquidity pool, or in the sense of YieldNest, have YNEF max, or have an LP position or something like that, right? Yeah.
Well, we can definitely try to send some people your way and get you guys any kind of opinions that you need or help, and obviously this talking to us in chat too, and in our holder chat and actually llamas, you're going to get a lot of feedback real fast. So if you ever need to poll us, just come over and feel free. We're running up against 45 minutes here on your calendar. I don't want to run into your 1 o'clock. So did you want to give us a wrap, or tell us what the most important thing to do? Like, are we on a full price Pioneer program right now, or are we still on a discounted one for the Llamas NFTs?
That's a good question. I will. Yeah. So the Pioneer program V2 is also again used to extend it, right? And if you already hold a Pioneer, that's fine, right? Because you already have the Pioneer, and the Pioneer will be used in governance later on, that you can do certain actions, and we need to see like, oh, we are the people that actually hold that, so that's fine. So if you hold one, you hold one. I would say the best way to prepare yourself for a higher airdrop is to just hold the product, right? So just hold the YNEF X, or hold any of the liquidity pools, and then earn the seeds, and those seeds will. It's just our program to kind of account like which addresses or groups did do a lot for the they do a lot for the community. Yeah, and those people will get rewarded when the airdrop starts,
Got
right?
it.
So then
So
we
the best way
will.
to farm it is to use it.
Yeah.
I mean, get on and use the product.
I have really important question actually about this, right? So this is one of the things. Yeah, exactly. Use the product and get an airdrop. I'm just gonna be like, I like to just be open and transparent here, right? So airdrops, really interesting. How do we do airdrops, right? We all remember the Prisma airdrop, where it was either a vote locked position or a liquid locker position, right? And like, I don't know, I didn't really like that because there was a lot of slippage and drama. So, or was that okay? Like, I think what I was personally thinking about is just giving users an option. If you get the airdrop, and this is again really a big decision for me, right? Because what I can give an airdrop to everyone, claim it and dump, and a lot of people will dump it. But ideally, you want to have a filter, because in a lot of airdrops, what we see is that a lot of people that get the airdrop actually sell it, right? And the people that actually stay, that are the real strong community members, they hold, they mostly get wrecked on or dumped on, right?
Yeah.
So how do we prevent that? So I was like, I have a couple of scenarios in my brain, and I just want to tell them. So the way we're thinking about doing the airdrop right now is giving users two options. Actually, three options. One, because we're working with StakeDAO to also build liquid lockers of our VE token model. That's one. So you have a VE YND option. You will get the liquid locker option, and we maybe going to roll out in the beginning or later. I think actually leaning more towards later, because that's quite a complex mechanism, and I don't want to create any form of confusion. So probably I'm just going to do two options. You either claim your VE YND, or you vote escrow YND tokens, or you just claim your YND tokens if you want to, right? So if you want to just get your YND, you just get your YND tokens. I think if I do the liquid locker in between, People get confused. People don't understand that. It's quite a complex concept. So that's a little bit my conclusion. But if you guys think liquid lockers from the get-go are fine, let me know. But I'm leaning towards keeping it simple and VYND and YND. So that's just two options. And then then it's just a question of like, how do we distribute the airdrop? Because the VYNDs, how we constructed it, it's instead of having a hard lock, it's a number go up lock. So you have your YND tokens, you then stake your YND tokens, you get vote escrowed YND tokens in return. And these vote escrow tokens, they're one to YND. And instead of locking it and getting more VYND, you stake it and your voting power increases over time on a 3-year linear band, right? So, and I think you get that, right?
Yeah, I understand. I'm
Yeah.
still just trying
So
to figure out how you incentivize people to take the VEYND over
exactly,
the
there we
bear
go, there we
token.
go. So this basically we understand, right? So how do we incentivize? Yes, that's a big question. How do we incentivize people? So like I'm thinking about this quite a long time. And what I potentially want to do is say to people, like, okay, you know, the airdrop, we want to do like a really big airdrop, like 10 or 15%, right? Um, because like I believe in doing that. But if you do a big airdrop and maybe there's a bunch of dumpers, they just dump it. So maybe it's better to say, because the VEYND tokens are not locked for 4 years, if you get your VEYND tokens and if you want, you can get them and you can click unstake afterwards, and there's a 30-day cooldown period, right? And after, actually, what's also really cool, if you get your VEYND, you will be able to merge it into a liquid locker, right? Merge and unmerge
Mm-hmm.
into liquid lockers. So what I potentially want to do is just do a 4% airdrop, so very low or relatively low, but the people that then take their YND and stake it into the contract, there's going to be this huge APY for people to do so. And then you incentivize people to lock it, and people that don't want to lock it's also fine, right? These people get airdrops, and that you want to dump on day one, all right, go ahead, right? But you're going to get a lower amount. If you decide to stay, you get more. You could construct this, and this is all more psychology and UX UI stuff, because then it's just like, I can give you actually 15% airdrop. I can show you get like this huge airdrop, and if you want to claim it today, you just get slashed.
Yeah,
And if you stake it, you get more. I think that's weird. I
it's like
think
a
it's just going to
vesting.
be,
It's like a vesting
yeah,
concept.
something like that. Yeah.
I see what you mean. You have a lot of stuff to think about and try to figure out how you want to do it, and then you're watching all these other train wreck airdrops going on around you, right? And you're like, oh God, how do I do this differently?
Exactly. And I just really want people to feel and think like, oh yeah, I like this, right? And I want to, the thing is, the people that scream the loudest, they're mostly stupid. We just launched our AI token, right? Nest AI, which is the first YieldNest sub-DAO, right? That will support the YieldNest DeFi ecosystem. And yeah, it was the same thing there. We launched it and we got suddenly 400 or 500 members in that Telegram group, and they started to scream, but they were all bots. It was all fake. We were in panic. We were like, oh my God, like what is going on? But it was all fake people also tricking me,
Yeah,
right?
you're trying to cater and like help people, and it's all a bunch of bots.
Yeah, but it was quite obviously quite clear after like a couple of interactions, right? But in the beginning, it gives you a shock, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So yeah,
That's
allemaal, TLDR, we want to do it like this. VYND, get more tokens, or if you want to dump, you just dump. You can dump, no problem, and then you dump, right? And we're not gonna make it an option of like, oh, I just want to claim 20%. No, 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 no.
it's
It's
all or
all or
nothing.
nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love it.
that makes it simple, right?
Heavily reward the vote the VE. It's a great idea.
Right, and it's not that you're locked for 4 years. That was a problem with Curve, right? Like, I mean, we're so bleeding edge, right? But you got your airdrop, a CRV airdrop. Of people, that was a great airdrop, right? But that airdrop was literally locked for 4 years.
Yeah. Especially before liquid lockers.
Yeah, and even when liquid lockers came out, you cannot merge and unmerge. Like this is all sounds pretty simple, right? Like, oh, I can split and merge an NFT. Very simple concept, but hard to execute
Yeah,
economically.
yeah. It
Yeah,
sounds easy when we're talking about it. All
it is
right, so
quite easy to build, but it
you
is just really hard to like, you know, full circle, right? Yeah.
you use the product, do the pioneer thing if you're rich. Go over and farm some Binance points, and I think it's funny that like you're involved in the Binance like startup group or whatever, and then like you still would have to pay them to list something. Like why are why do they have that program if they're not going to like fast track everybody to a listing? Well,
Right.
maybe. I mean, they said. I think that the post today from Binance was they're being unshackled, and hopefully that means that they have opened up the listings and just go nuts.
Yeah, I mean, our lead investor and stuff, like, yeah, we have VCs and people, but they're very helpful in terms of like helping us brainstorm about these things. They're saying like even talking to Binance is already really cool because most projects cannot even talk
Don't
to
even
them.
get their foot in the door to be able to talk to them.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, I'm gonna jump off now. It's almost 10 o'clock here, and I'm gonna get ready to get this uploaded, and hopefully we can get it into everybody's hands tomorrow morning, and it'll be well listened to. I'm sure. Appreciate your time, Dio, and it was great talking to you, and excited for the future of
Thanks.
YieldNest.
What I'm gonna do in the actual llamas, I was just gonna write out that airdrop strategy and some other questions, and then I
Oh,
would
that'd
love to
be
have
awesome.
everybody's input.
Love
Yeah.
it. Well, so everybody, if you're listening to this on a recording, make sure to go and read Dio's comments in the holder chat. Have a great night, day. Have a great
Appreciate
day.
it.
See ya.
Great day, great day, great night. Bye bye. Cheers.